Friends, I'm going to make a big claim today that Iranian regime is close to collapsing. In fact, it might collapse because of several factors. The first is this is not like the previous protests. Uh, the previous protests, say, for example, even when Masa Amini in 2022 was killed, the protests that followed resulted in hundreds of deaths by the security forces, thousands of people in jail. We also saw massive human rights violations, such that the UN report said that there were crimes against humanity. So the Iranian regime can be very brutal. And in the past, also, we have seen in 2017, 19, many such protests with lots of deaths, etc. But the regime was never as weak as today. This is for several reasons. I'll give you a few indicators. The inflation rate in Iran is catastrophic. That is, just in December alone, prices have increased by 42%. Food prices in the last 1 year have gone up by around 74, 75%. The currency has lost 56% of its value just in the last 6 months. And the country basically has very little foreign exchange left. And why suddenly this crisis? Because in September, the European countries and the UN Security Council reimposed sanctions. The United States had done that earlier because, Trump made the US exit from the JCPOA agreement in 2018, and the situation had kept deteriorating since then. That's why you saw the more frequent protests in 2019, 2022. But now the situation since September has fallen precipitously due to these European countries and the UN Security Council also joining in. These sanctions not only cover Iran's oil exports, but also banking sanctions. So now the only way out is for Iran to make a deal. That is for the Iranian government to make a deal with the US and Israel and these other European countries and allow complete unrestricted access for nuclear inspectors in any part of Iran. And they will not be able to stop them anywhere. And every single gram of enriched uranium will have to be taken out of the country. Iran will then be provided only lightly enriched uranium for its energy needs, nuclear energy needs, and nothing else. So this is too humiliating for the supreme leader, Khamenei. If you know, Iran has a two-level form of government. One is the office of the Vilayat-e-Faqih, the supreme leader, and he decides on the most important issues of security, foreign policy, etc. And then there is a prime minister and a government below him, which is kind of in a restricted election. It is allowed to be selected, and they control local governance and some minor economic matters. And a large amount of the security situation is also in the hands of the IRGC, the special corps of the army, which is loyal only to the supreme leader and the ideology of the state, which is Shia Islamist ideology. Now, the economic situation has never been this bad before. And you can understand that from the fact that the bazaris, the merchants of the bazaar, have now come out in protest. In fact, these protests were started by them and some students. But now they have spread to 22 of Iran's 31 provinces. So over 2/3 of the provinces. They might not yet be as big as they were in 2022 or earlier, but they are getting there very fast. And the Iranian government is trying to mollify the protesters. That is, only yesterday, Iranian government has announced that it will give $7 to every Iranian citizen, or almost every, about 80 million of them. And this is certainly insufficient because just to survive, a person needs about $200 a month in Iran. But the average salary of the laborers has fallen to as little as $100. And this is incredible for Iran. Used to be a middle income country, and it's now fallen into one of the least lowest income percentiles. So this is unlikely to mollify certainly the middle class, and maybe for the very poor ones it might be a little bit, but it's just enough for, say, 100 eggs or so, or a kilo of meat. This is not enough in a month. So I doubt this will mollify everybody. And The only way the government can stop this is through very heavy violence. But Pezeshkian is a moderate. He's against employing such violence, but ultimately the decision may not be in his hands. The Ayatollah is more hardline, Khamenei, and he says that we have to crush these protests. People have a right to protest, but not to any kind of violence. And if there is any kind of violence for the protesters, it has to be put down with a heavy hand. So either there will be massive bloodletting again, but Iran is headed south. If not this protest, very soon it will be in trouble. And this was clear from the time in June that the US and Israel attacked Iran. Iran already had almost a non-existent air force and very little air defense. Even that was taken out. And Iran was unable to give a very strong reply to Israel. There were also a lot of saboteurs within Iran, which shows that the Iranian government is quite unpopular. I mean, if you didn't get an idea from the protests. And sure, there is a loyalist core also. There is, first of all, the armed groups, paramilitias like the Basij. There's the army and there's the IRGC, etc. But if living conditions get worse, there might be cracks even there, you know. And once they start to crack, things will be in a unstoppable momentum. In fact, even the supreme leader is about 86 years old, Khamenei. And so as his health fails, which inevitably it has to at some point, you will see a lot of movement. And at that time, who and which loyalist will remain and which parts of the public or the paramilitary or the military will split is not clear. I doubt everything will stay together because he has stayed in power so long. He's been in power since 1989. So the original founder of the Islamic Republic was Khomeini, and Khomeini was just there for about 10 years. So Khamenei has been there now for about 36 years, over 36 years. So I doubt Iran will be able to survive that transition easily. And the protesters might have to pay a heavy price. Some of them will possibly even die, but the transition will be made. And that's what happens in every revolution. You can go back all the way to the French Revolution or the Russian Revolution or whatever. It's difficult in advance to say when it will happen. Things keep deteriorating for a while. And suddenly revolutions happen, just like suddenly bankruptcies happen. That is, they begin slowly at first, and then suddenly there is a precipitous fall. Now, some people have been criticizing me that I'm, you know, advocating this. I'm not advocating, I'm just an analyst. I'm just analyzing what the situation is. All the indicators, if you have a close eye on history, on international relations, and you have seen the past, indicate that the Iranian regime does not have the staying power anymore. In fact, people were already predicting that after the June 12-day attack by Israel, that there might be an uprising because there was also a nationalist sentiment against Israel, etc., against a foreign invader. But it exposed the weakness of the regime, and it has led to further slide in the economic situation since then. And 6 months or 7 months have passed since then. So people are not willing to now just be swayed by pure nationalism. They want food on the table. They want bread on the table. They want a living wage. And usually such economic disturbances have led to change of regimes, whether you saw in the case of the deteriorating situation in Venezuela over the last few years, where 3/4 of the per capita income was wiped out. They went from $15,000 per capita to $4,000 per capita. Or if you, which led to 8 million refugees. Or you see the situation, how the collapse happened in Syria. So Iran also is giving all those indicators. And even if the regime were to survive this time, it would be at a very high cost, and it would be another nail in the coffin. It would be another brick in the wall, as they say, to the eventual collapse of the regime. And what will emerge from that, one can't say. Will there be civil war? Will certain minorities who have been oppressed secede from the union? Will Will it be a peaceful transition and a secular government takeover, which is also possible because a large percentage of Iranians are now quite secular? There is no faster way to destroy religion than to impose a religious or theocratic state on a people. So keep your eyes glued, stay subscribed to my channel, and I'll keep bringing you the latest news. So far, the latest news is 36 dead till last night, and hundreds injured and in prison. So let's see how this goes, but the writing seems to be on the wall. Thank you.